Okay, class, today we're going to start to talk about finding valid sources, especially on the internet. So, why do we care? Why is this important? So think about how many research assignments you have to do in the future. You want the information that you have to gather for your writing to be accurate, or else your entire paper could be worthless. If you take the time to make sure that your sources are valid, then you won't have to trash a study, a paper, or anything else that you'll likely have put a lot of work into. And with that, let's get into what a reliable source versus an unreliable source is. So, trustworthy sources have the following characteristics. They're thorough, i.e. they cover all of their bases. They're well-reasoned, so what they are saying doesn't make any sort of far leap in logic. They present a strong argument, so what is written is easily supported. They're peer-reviewed, so the paper has been looked at by unbiased readers and supported. They're reliable, i.e. the sources put out accurate, trustworthy publications of the past. They're transparent, so they present all of the data, findings, etc. without actually hiding any aspect of it. And they're facts-based, so the findings, the conclusion, everything are all based off of facts, logic, and other things that have been proven. So, let's look at some shortcuts for finding the reliable sources online, since that's where the majority of your sources will come from. Education and government sites are generally safe, but you have to make sure that you double check, since some sites have some misleading website names to throw you off. Make sure that the source itself has things that are credible, such as an author, dates of when it came out or was revised, their own sources for their findings, and what they are saying is also said by other people. Also ensure that you're not looking at opinion-based articles or sites that could be easily edited by anybody, like Wikipedia. Now, speaking of Wikipedia, while the site itself is not a place where you should get your data, you can use it to find reliable sources. Just scroll to the bottom and look at the reference section and make sure that the data that you are interested in uses the guidelines from above. So, let's look at an example. Which of these two sources is more reliable, and why is that? Here's where I'd wait a minute or two for answers. So, look at the New York Times. It has a date, it uses facts, it has a publisher, and it's a known, credible source. On the other hand, let's look at Wikipedia. The first tell is that it's, obviously, Wikipedia, which has a history of producing unreliable data. Note how one of its key features is that anybody can edit it. So, where can you find trustworthy sources? There are several places for this, but the most common ones are libraries, newspapers, direct interviews, and the internet. But make sure that you actually use the tips from above from the reasons that we stated earlier. So, let's go over what we learned. Basically, don't trust everything that you read. Remember that false information can spread like wildfire, so you should always look into information before accepting it as true. Do your own research to make sure that what you're finding is correct. And of course, always cite your sources. So, using what we've learned, let's look at your assignment for the day. I want all of you to look on the internet for 5 reliable sources, as well as 5 unreliable sources. Note that these sources cannot be from the same website. For example, don't turn in 5 Wikipedia or New York Times articles. To get a 100, list all of your sources, tell me why they're reliable or unreliable, and make sure to cite them in APA format. Okay, that's it. Get started.